Shark attacks are uncommon but exciting experiences highlighting marine life's untamed strength and charisma. Frequently misunderstood, these apex predators are essential to preserving the delicate equilibrium of the ocean. Every assault is a sobering reminder of the sea's unpredictability, where people are guests in a vast underwater world. The ocean is a place of wonder and caution, emphasizing the complex relationship between humans and marine creatures, from great whites patrolling coastal waters to the vibrant ecosystems teeming with life. Here are 6 stories. The waters off the coast of South Australia were shimmering in the summer of 2020 due to the unrelenting sun. The area, renowned for its untamed beauty, was notorious for the great white sharks that lurked there as apex predators. The deep, frigid waters of the Southern Ocean had long served as a feeding ground for these giants. Fishermen had been sharing tales of their experiences for decades, but until that fateful day, few thought these stories could turn tragic. An experienced fisherman of 57 years, Tom Harris dedicated his life to learning about these waters. He was a wiry, weathered man who was as familiar with the sea's tides, currents, and erratic moods as anyone. Luke Mitchell was a 23-year-old novice who was his apprentice and new to the field. In search of adventure and a way out of the grind of the city, Luke left a peaceful life in Adelaide to learn the ins and outs of fishing. They departed from Port Lincoln on a sunny December morning in the Marlin's Call, Tom's beaten fishing boat. The modest Marlin's Call was the 32-foot wooden boat that had seen better days. Tom thought it wasn't designed for luxury but was dependable. It was a straightforward plan. They would go farther offshore to look for bluefin tuna after trawling the shallow waters for snapper and kingfish. The sea's deceptive calm made even seasoned sailors uneasy on that particular day. Tom and Luke worked in unison, hauling in their nets and gutting fish on the deck as the sun rose higher. Tom determined it was time to venture further into deeper waters by midday, when their hold was half full. He navigated the vessel toward the Neptune Islands, a group of rocky islands located about 40 miles out to sea. The region was well known for its great white shark hotspot and its profusion of marine life. Luke saw waves in the water following the boat, indicating something was amiss. He initially wrote it off as the engine wake or possibly a school of fish. But the waves became more significant and intentional. The water was then sliced through like a knife by a dorsal fin that broke the surface. With a height of easily 3 feet, it was enormous. Luke became nauseous upon realizing it was a great white shark, and a massive one. Being a pragmatic person, Tom dismissed Luke's discomfort. He reasoned that sharks were a natural part of life out here. They were interesting animals, and the smell of blood in the water frequently drew them to fishing boats. As the minutes passed, however, it became evident that this shark was more than merely curious. It was slowly and deliberately circling them. Under the surface, the animal's enormous shadow moved with a spectral presence that seemed to get bigger with every step. The shark came up nearer to the boat this time. Its black eyes and pale, scarred body were now clearly visible to Luke. It was easily 20 feet long, if not more. Usually unfazed by anything the sea threw at him, Tom's face became tense. He instructed Luke to secure the catch and get ready to return to port, while muttering something under his breath. The shark moved in before they could turn on the engine, though. The great white suddenly struck the boat side with amazing force. The wooden hull splintered with a sickening crack as the impact sent Luke sprawling across the deck. The 2 men rushed to evaluate the damage as water started to seep into the boat. The shark circled again, its dorsal fin cutting like a blade through the water. It then reappeared and hit the stern this time. Water continued to pour in as the boat lurched violently. As the shark launched a third, more vicious attack, panic broke out. Its enormous jaws broke the surface, clamping down on the boat's edge. The predator tore through the structure with terrifying ease, filling the air with the sound of splintering wood and crunching metal. Such unadulterated strength was too strong for the Marlin's Call. In just a few minutes, the boat began to sink. Tom didn't waste any time. He seized the life raft in case of emergency and thrust it into Luke's grasp. Even though he hesitated, Tom yelled for the younger man to get in. As water surged over the deck, Luke complied, struggling to inflate the raft. Now agitated, the shark persisted in its attack, thrashing its massive body against the sinking boat. Tom snatched up a flare gun and shot the shark to divert it as Luke climbed into the life raft. The animal was momentarily alarmed by the loud pop and bright flash, but was not put off. Tom was aware of the necessity. He made a final attempt to divert the shark's attention from the raft with grim resolve. Grabbing a knife, he cut open a bait bag and threw the bloody contents into the water. The shark's attention shifted from the raft to the sinking boat, and then Tom as it turned toward the scent. Luke could only watch in horror as Tom was carried away by the ship as it vanished beneath the waves. Spray flew into the air as the shark's enormous tail thrashed against the water. After that, there was silence. The sea, which had been so raging only moments before, was now calm. Luke's mind was racing with shock and guilt as he sat in the life raft, trembling uncontrollably. It took hours before Luke was saved by a passing cargo ship that noticed the life raft. Despite being sunburned, dehydrated, and traumatized, he was still alive. At first, the crew didn't believe him when he told them what had happened. The idea of a shark sinking a boat sounded like something from a scary movie. They realized Luke wasn't lying when they arrived in Port Lincoln and saw his troubled face. Tom Harris never got located. A monument to the harshness of nature, the fragments of the marlin's call were found on the ocean floor. Luke Mitchell was a completely different person when he returned to Adelaide. For the rest of his life, Luke is plagued by Tom's vision of his last moments and the terrifying shark that has captured him. To raise awareness of the risks and beauty of sharks, he gave up fishing and became a shark conservationist. Among South Australia's fishing community, the tale of the marlin's call and its tragic run-in with the great white shark has become legendary. Some interpret it as a warning about the dangers of underestimating the ocean predators. Others see it as a reminder of the bravery and selflessness of a man such as Tom Harris. Luke, on the other hand, sees it as a nightmare from which he will never be able to escape. Tourists flocked to the Bahamas' small charming island of Eleuthera in the summer of 2009. Divers and snorkelers have long flocked to the island because of its clear beaches, turquoise waters, and colorful coral reefs. People worldwide came to see the underwater wonders up close because of its rich marine biodiversity. That summer, however, would be remembered for something much more sinister than the reef's natural beauty. A shark attack that nearly killed a person and rocked the marine tourism industry. Seattle-based software engineer Julie Baker, 32, had planned her trip to break away from the routine of her desk work. Snorkeling among the coral reefs was the primary reason she had always wanted to travel to the Bahamas. Julie made reservations for a day trip with Ocean Haven Excursions, a respected tour operator specializing in guided snorkeling tours. Clear waters, tropical fish, and the opportunity to explore one of the most beautiful reef systems in the Atlantic Ocean were all promised to make the trip an unforgettable experience. A light breeze rippled across the water on the sunny tour day. 8 other tourists, including an elderly German couple, a Canadian newlywed couple, and a few lone travelers like Julie, joined her. Cassian Moreau, a seasoned diver with over 10 years of experience, led the group. Cassian's calm disposition and extensive knowledge of the local waters were well known. He was assisted in distributing the snorkeling equipment and educating the group on safety procedures by Tariq Sands, a young Bahamian. At a shallow reef close to the coast, the tour got underway. Below them, the group was astounded by the riot of color, which included vibrant corals scuttling schools of fish and the occasional sea turtle swimming gracefully. Julie was engrossed in recording everything with her GoPro. For the first time in years, she felt at peace. After an hour or so, Cassian decided to lead the group to Devil's Drop, a deeper reef. The reef abruptly plunged into the dark abyss of the open ocean, forming a sharp underwater cliff, which was the source of the name. The wealth of marine life gathered at the drop-off edge made it a popular destination for snorkelers and divers. To draw fish and make the experience more thrilling, Tariq started chumming the water as the group swam along the reef. Tiny pieces of fish and blood drew a kaleidoscope of marine life through the water. She was ecstatic when Julie saw larger fish, like a barracuda, darting through the reef. But the chumming also drew a mature bull shark, which is far more dangerous. The group was unaware that the shark had been waiting at the drop-off's edge, lured by the blood scent. Bull sharks were known to frequent shallow coastal areas because of their aggressive nature. This one, probably an 8-foot-long female, started to circle the group with slow, methodical movements. Julie missed the shadow from behind because she was preoccupied with the colorful fish in front of her. Abruptly, the shark charged ahead, its strong body piercing the water like a torpedo. With amazing force, it struck Julie's left leg, its razor-sharp teeth digging into her thigh. She hardly realized what had happened until she felt the intense pain, because the impact was so abrupt and violent. There was panic among the snorkelers. As the water silenced their voices, some screamed through their snorkels while others frantically swam toward the boat. Keeping his cool, Cassian motioned for everyone to exit the water immediately. As Julie thrashed in agony with blood oozing around her like a red cloud, he swam toward her. The shark let her go and vanished into the depths, possibly alarmed by the disturbance. In seconds, Cassian arrived at Julie, his training taking effect. While shouting for Tariq to prepare the first aid kit, he grabbed her by the arms and pulled her toward the boat. Julie was losing consciousness, her face going white from blood loss. Tariq and 2 other tourists dragged her aboard when they arrived at the ship. Together, they used a belt to stop the bleeding and applied a tourniquet to her leg. Cassian continued to scan the water, worried the shark might return. The scent of blood could easily entice a bull shark known for its perseverance. Thankfully, the predator did not reappear. The boat's captain quickly radioed for help and hurried to the closest dock. After being taken to a tiny clinic on the island, Julie was stabilized by medical professionals before being taken to a hospital in Nassau. She had suffered severe blood loss and her leg needed several surgeries to be repaired. She had a lengthy recuperation period due to the torn muscles and tendons from the shark's bite. Discussions concerning the dangers of marine tourism and the morality of chumming were sparked by the attack, which garnered international attention. Experts offered differing opinions on the incident. Some claimed that excessive chumming incites aggressive behavior in sharks, while others maintained that the practice posed little risk when done properly. Following an investigation, local authorities in the Bahamas tightened the rules regarding chumming near well-known tourist destinations. It was a life-changing experience for Julie. The psychological effects outweighed the physical scars by a wide margin. In sharp contrast to the happiness she had experienced moments before the attack, she battled nightmares and a newfound fear of the ocean. She was resolved, nevertheless, not to allow the incident to define who she was. She regained some use of her leg after months of physical therapy, but she still walked with a slight limp. Even Julie surprised herself by becoming an advocate for shark conservation. The equilibrium of marine ecosystems is maintained by bull sharks like all sharks she discovered. Although the fear of her encounter would never leave her, she realized that the shark acted instinctively and not maliciously. With a renewed emphasis on safety, Cassian Moreau was praised as a hero for his quick thinking and continued to lead snorkeling tours. Instead, he quit chumming and focused on the reef's unadulterated natural beauty. Shaken by the experience, Tariq Sands quit his job in tourism and studied marine biology to learn more about the animals that had so profoundly altered his viewpoint. Even though the waters surrounding Eleuthera were still stunning, the attack memory hung over those present that day like a dark cloud. The ocean is a place of breathtaking beauty and wild danger, and Julie's story serves as a sobering reminder of its strength and unpredictable nature. The year was 2019, and the Cape Cod Bluefin Classic was in full swing. The competition was renowned for its intense competition and enormous prize money, and it was held each summer in the waters of Massachusetts. In an attempt to capture the largest bluefin tuna and win the title, fishermen from all over the nation flocked to Chatham, a seaside town. For Captain Mark Daniels, the occasion was the chance of a lifetime, and it was as much about the bragging rights as it was about the rewards. A seasoned fisherman in his late 40s, Mark had been fishing the Atlantic for decades in search of tuna. Both newcomers and veterans were on board the Bluefin Fury. Jake Lawson was one of them, a young and enthusiastic deckhand just out of college. Despite having little deep-sea fishing experience, Jake's passion more than made up for it. Tasha Grimes, a shrewd navigator with a talent for reading the sea, and Hector Vance, a seasoned fisherman in his 60s who had seen it all, completed the crew. Together, they were determined to make their mark in the tournament. The waters off Cape Cod were picture-perfect that July morning. The sky was clear and a gentle breeze rippled across the surface of the Atlantic. The Bluefin Fury was one of dozens of boats scattered across the designated fishing grounds, their rods poised and ready. For hours, the crew battled the monotony of waiting, scanning the sonar for any sign of activity. Then, shortly after noon, the reel screamed to life. Mark barked instructions as Hector and Jake scrambled to secure the rod. Whatever they had hooked was massive, and it was putting up a fight. The boat rocked as the fish dove deeper, its powerful tail thrashing against the line. Jake's hands trembled as he held onto the rod, feeling the raw strength of the creature on the other end. Mark and Hector took turns helping him, reeling in slowly but steadily. After nearly an hour of struggle, the fish broke the surface, a colossal bluefin tuna weighing over 800 pounds. A shiver of excitement ran through the crew. The tournament could have been won with this kind of catch. Mark set up the harpoon while Tasha navigated the boat. However, something unexpected occurred while they were trying to secure the fish. The tuna's surroundings started to churn violently. When they saw a huge dorsal fin cutting through the waves, they initially believed it was the fish flailing. It was a great white shark, easily over 15 feet long. The tuna's distress had attracted the predator, circling the boat. A growing unease replaced the excitement as the crew froze. The shark repeatedly bumped the Bluefin Fury in its relentless pursuit of the tuna, still tethered to their line. Mark knew they needed to move quickly. The shark lunged before the crew could cut the line and release the fish. The shark struck the side of the boat with a massive blow, causing it to lurch violently. Jake barely avoided being tossed overboard when he lost his balance and crashed into the railing. The shark turned around for another dive, slamming into the stern so hard that water started to pour onto the deck. The boat began to tilt dangerously to one side, which increased the crew's panic. "Everyone should grab life jackets," Mark yelled. He was aware that the Bluefin Fury would not withstand any more blows. Being aware of the confusion, the shark launched another attack, breaking through the surface and partially landing on the side of the boat. Hector scrambled back in fear, as its jaws snapped just inches from him. After the shark's weight further tilted the boat, it capsized in seconds, plunging the crew into the icy Atlantic seas. Immediate and harsh was the shock of the cold water. Clinging to a piece of floating debris, Jake surfaced, struggling to breathe. As they shouted to ensure everyone was present, the others bobbed around him in their life jackets. There was some stability because the Bluefin Fury's overturned hull floated nearby. The shark, however, was still present and was patiently circling them. The crew held on to the wreckage for hours, their bodies becoming numb from the cold. Now and then, the shark's dorsal fin sliced through the water, a sad reminder of their danger. Mark tried to keep everyone composed, but his face showed the tension. Hector, who had been at sea all his life, prayed quietly to himself as Tasha continued looking for any sign of help. Uncontrollably shivering, Jake was unable to get rid of his guilt. He held himself responsible for the catastrophe, believing that his lack of experience had affected their situation. Their predicament became increasingly dire as the sun started to set. Dehydration was beginning, and the cold was wearing them down. They heard a distant sound, the distinct hum of an approaching boat. Just when they thought no hope was left, Tasha waved frantically, using the setting sun's reflection on her watch to catch the vessel's attention. Moments later, a large fishing trawler appeared on the horizon, its crew shouting as they spotted the survivors. The rescue was a blur of relief and exhaustion. The trawler's crew pulled Mark, Jake, Hector, and Tasha from the water, wrapping them in blankets and administering first aid. As a silent victim of the day's events, the Bluefin Fury was abandoned. The truth of what had transpired started to set in as they were returned to shore. The event profoundly scarred Jake Lawson. The shark image and the sense of helplessness in the water plagued him as he repeatedly relived the events in his mind. He questioned whether life at sea was right for him and battled survivor's guilt. However, Mark Daniels saw the event as a sobering reminder of the ocean's power. He committed to doing his job with a fresh appreciation for the risks involved. Before long, the Bluefin Fury story had become a cautionary tale for the fishing community. Even though the Cape Cod Bluefin Classic was held the following year, people were still reminded of that terrible day. It reminded Mark and his crew that the sea is a powerful force regardless of its beauty, and they learned this lesson the hard way. In the warm summer of 2018, Claire Stevens, a 32-year-old open-water diving enthusiast, embarked on an adventurous underwater exploration near the crystalline coasts of Oahu, Hawaii. The island was well liked by divers worldwide because of its stunning coral reefs and thriving marine ecosystems. But it was also home to the mighty tiger shark, a species well known for its curiosity and sporadic run-ins with people. Claire had enrolled in a local tour company's group diving excursion. Beautiful coral formations and schools of tropical fish were visible at the dive site, a popular location 2 miles offshore. She joined a group of 8 divers and their guide equipped with her dive gear, a buoyancy control device, and a compressed air tank. After exploring a reef for about 45 minutes at a depth of 80 feet, the plan was to return to the boat. Claire was stunned by the wonders beneath the surface as the dive got underway without any problems. Vibrant fish darted in and out of the corals as she watched manta rays glide elegantly above her. The calm of the underwater environment stood in stark contrast to the nightmare that would soon ensue. Claire briefly lost sight of the other divers halfway through the dive as her focus shifted to a school of butterfly fish. Assuming they were just ahead, she kicked her fins to catch up, but her visibility was hindered by an unexpected cloud of silt stirred up by the current. When the water cleared, Claire realized with a sinking heart that she was alone. Aware that the dive boat would be close, she cautiously surfaced. To her dismay, it was a distance on the horizon far beyond her reach. Since she had no immediate means of getting back to her group, Claire blew up her surface marker buoy, a tool to let the boat know where she was. In the hopes of being noticed by the crew, she started waving it above the waves. After a few moments, the water surrounding her appeared uncannily silent. She then saw a dark shape circling beneath her out of the corner of her eye. Her stomach dropped as the figure became more visible, although initially she thought it might be a dolphin. Easily 12 feet long, the tiger shark's striped body glided menacingly through the water. Though Claire knew that abrupt, erratic movements could agitate the shark, panic threatened to overwhelm her. She kept her legs close to her body and tried not to scream or flail despite every urge to do so. She clutched her dive knife not as a weapon, but as a last resort tool to defend herself if necessary. Initially curious, the shark's behavior changed to one of intent. Its sleek body circled closer, cutting through the water with predatory precision. Claire knew she had to act decisively. Using her fins, she kicked gently but deliberately, propelling herself away from the shark while keeping an eye on its movements. Minutes felt like hours as the shark continued its relentless circling. At one point, it darted toward her, brushing past her dive gear before veering off. Claire's heart pounded, but she resisted the urge to panic. She had read about a method to scare sharks by interfering with their senses, so she used her snorkel to splash water in the shark's direction. The tiger shark was not moving, and the standoff continued. With her air supply running low, Claire knew she couldn't stay afloat for much longer. Her eyes locked on a small fishing boat approaching the distance as she looked over the horizon desperately. She frantically waved her marker buoy in the hopes that the occupants would notice her before it was too late, and she felt relieved. The shark made one final forceful move as the boat approached its dorsal fin, piercing the water only a few inches from Claire. As she prepared for an assault, the creature abruptly turned and vanished into the depths. 2 fishermen dragged her on board as soon as the fishing boat arrived, breathless and shaking from exhaustion. Claire fell onto the deck. Her rescuers, locals with knowledge of the waters, realized right away how serious what she had just gone through was. They gave her a blanket and water while they hurried to the harbor, closely monitoring the surrounding waters. Claire found it challenging to comprehend the harrowing experience in the following days. She suffered no physical harm, but the psychological effects persisted. She had nightmares about the tiger shark that kept her awake, and she kept thinking about the incident and wondering what she could have done differently. After a while, Claire joined a support group for shark encounter survivors and sought therapy to deal with the trauma. During these sessions, she discovered how to use her fear to advocate for shark conservation. She started spreading the word about the value of preserving these little-known animals and their vital function in safeguarding the health of marine ecosystems. Claire never returned to open water diving, but her love for the sea never diminished. She advocated for safer diving techniques and urged people to treat the sea and its inhabitants respectfully. The incident she had near Oahu turned into a warning to divers and a celebration of the human spirit's ability to withstand the untamed might of nature. Although the waters of Hawaii still attracted divers worldwide, Claire's story served as a reminder of the ocean's unpredictability, beauty, and danger. Though the terrifying experience left Claire Stevens permanently altered, it also motivated her to take action to save the world beneath the waves, marking a turning point in her life. 34-year-old London-based wildlife photographer Sarah Bennett visited the renowned False Bay in South Africa in the summer of 2017. False Bay has long been a destination for photographers and adventurers due to its beautiful coastline and abundant marine life. It was renowned for its seasonal shark activity, a natural spectacle that attracted tourists and researchers worldwide and stretched along the Cape Peninsula. Although Sarah had seen marine life before, this trip was the first time she had put her camera to work on the Cape fur seals on the rocky outcrops close to the bay. She wanted to document the fun they were having along the beach. Equipped with her camera equipment and an adventurous mindset, she devoted days to finding the ideal spot to compose her images. Sarah ended up at Miller's Point, a peaceful section of beach where seals frequently congregate close to tide pools on a windy afternoon. The area was picturesque, with rough rocks sticking out into the sea and waves gently crashing against the shore. Despite its tranquil surroundings, False Bay had a reputation as one of the world's hotspots for great white shark activity, which few people ignored. Along the beach were signs cautioning tourists not to enter the water, but Sarah, seeking the ideal angle, chose to wade into the shallow waters close to the seals. The tide was low, and Sarah stood knee-deep in the chilly water, her camera poised and focused on a group of seals basking on a nearby rock. The sun moved across the water's surface, creating a captivating background for her photographs. She was too preoccupied with her work to notice the abrupt shift in the seals' behavior. They became agitated and started frantically splashing and darting into the water. Moments later, Sarah felt an enormous jolt from below. A powerful force struck her leg, sending her sprawling into the water. She was in excruciating pain as she fumbled to get her bearings. Glancing down, she noticed that her leg was heavily bleeding, and the surrounding water had a red tint. Her heart sank when she realized what had transpired. Because of the seals, a great white shark had mistaken her for prey. The shark, which was thought to be close to 10 feet long, had fled for the time being but was still present just outside the shallows, its dorsal fin cutting like a blade through the water. When nearby beachgoers saw the chaos, they started yelling for assistance. Liam Jordan, a local fisherman aware of the risks in False Bay, was one of them. He immediately snatched up a buoy and raced to Sarah, who had trouble staying afloat in the raging waves. Another bystander alerted the lifeguards stationed further down the beach. The shark came closer as Liam approached her, circling a few meters away. Urging Sarah to grasp on, he dragged her back toward the coast and pushed the buoy in her direction. With the shark's shadow constantly following them, the seconds seemed to drag on for hours as they made their way through the dangerous waters. By the time they reached the beach, lifeguards had arrived with a first aid kit. Sarah's leg was severely injured with deep puncture wounds and torn muscle tissue, but she was conscious and coherent. The lifeguards worked quickly to apply pressure to her wounds and stabilize her for transport. A rescue helicopter was called to airlift her to the nearest hospital in Cape Town. Sarah's recovery was grueling. The shark's bite had caused severe damage, requiring multiple surgeries to repair her leg. Months of physical therapy followed as she regained her mobility, though she was left with a pronounced limp and deep scars, as a permanent reminder of the attack. The physical wounds, however, were only part of her struggle. The psychological trauma of the encounter weighed heavily on her. Sarah replayed the incident countless times, haunted by the thought that her actions might have provoked the shark. She began to question the ethics of wildlife photography, particularly the practice of entering animals' natural habitats for the sake of a shot. During her recovery, Sarah researched the great white sharks and their behavior. She learned that shark attacks were often cases of mistaken identity in murky water. Sharks could confuse humans with seals or other prey. This knowledge offered her some solace and deepened her sense of responsibility. She had ventured into a predator's domain and paid the price. Sarah's story quickly gained media attention, sparking a broader conversation about wildlife tourism and the balance between capturing nature's beauty and respecting its boundaries. Some criticized her for taking unnecessary risks, while others applauded her bravery and resilience. Sarah took a balanced stance, acknowledging her mistakes and using her platform to promote ethical wildlife photography. She partnered with marine conservation organizations to raise awareness about shark behavior and preserving their habitats. She also began sharing her story at schools and photography workshops, emphasizing the need for caution and respect when interacting with nature. Despite the ordeal, Sarah didn't abandon her passion for photography. She returned to the field a year later, focusing on landscapes and bird life, which posed less risk than marine predators. Her experience at False Bay remained a pivotal moment in her career, shaping her approach to her art and advocacy. The scars on her leg became a testament to her survival and a reminder of the fragile line between humans and the wild. For Sarah Bennett, the encounter was not just a brush with death, but a profound lesson in humility and respect for the natural world. With its raw beauty and lurking dangers, False Bay continued to be a place of fascination and caution for all who ventured there. In early September 2021, Kate and Alex Turner, a couple from Seattle, embarked on what they hoped would be a thrilling and unforgettable adventure along the pristine coastline of Baja California, Mexico. The pair had always been fascinated by marine life, particularly great white sharks. So when they heard about the shark cage diving tours operating near Isla Guadalupe, they couldn't resist the opportunity to witness these apex predators up close. Isla Guadalupe, located over 200 miles off the Mexican mainland, is renowned for its clear waters and dense population of great white sharks. The island had gained global recognition as a hotspot for adrenaline-seeking tourists looking to dive into the heart of the shark's habitat. While the practice was controversial, it had become a lucrative business, with operators attracting travelers from across the globe. The Turners booked their excursion with Deep Abyss Expeditions, which was advertised as having the most secure shark cages and experienced crew. They were assured that the activity was safe and tightly regulated. The couple boarded the company's vessel Marlin's Edge, alongside 10 other participants. The air was thick with excitement and nervous chatter as they set out for the deep blue waters surrounding Isla Guadalupe. Without any problems, the day began. The crew set up the cages after the dive instructor gave them a safety briefing. These metal enclosures attached to the boat and suspended just below the surface were made to shield divers from sharks. The Turners, paired as dive buddies, were among the first to enter the cage. They donned wetsuits and oxygen masks, eager for their close encounter with the legendary predators. The sight of the cage being lowered into the water was unreal. The sharks that started circling below were perfectly visible due to the pristine turquoise water. The crew enticed the sharks closer by using chunks of tuna as bait. A giant great white, more than 15 feet long, emerged from the depths, its streamlined body gracefully slicing through the water. It felt strange, though. The baiting method, intended to draw sharks without frightening them, seemed unduly forceful. The sharks became agitated due to one of the crew members' constant throwing of big fish chunks right in front of the cage. Through the bars, Kate could see the enormous great white star acting strangely, snapping at the bait more and more violently. Abruptly, the shark's gaze shifted to the cage. It suddenly sprang forward and slammed the metal bars with incredible force. Alex and Kate were flung against the cage's sides as the whole thing shook. The collision sound echoed through the water, heightening the tension. There was another charge with even more force. One of the cage bars gave way under the strain, allowing the shark to jam its snout inside, much to the couple's horror. With its enormous jaws snapping just inches from Kate's foot, the shark thrashed, causing the water to churn violently. Anarchy broke out on the surface. The winch system failed as the crew frantically attempted to remove the cage from the water. While some passengers watched in disbelief, stunned by the developing tragedy, the remaining divers yelled instructions. As the shark's craze intensified inside the cage, Kate and Alex found it difficult to maintain composure. They knew their oxygen tanks would run out quickly and were exposed to the damaged structure. Alex took Kate's hand to protect her from the shark's unpredictable movements. Its tether was straining from the constant attacks, dangerously causing the cage to tilt. With its teeth scraping the metal bars, the shark pushed its head deeper into the cage when it looked like things couldn't get any worse. Kate panicked and gasped for air after her oxygen mask was knocked loose in the chaos. Alex struggled to keep her steady, but their situation grew more vulnerable. Another diver, Marcel de Vries, moved swiftly amid the confusion. Marcel, a Dutch traveler with years of diving experience, was already outfitted on deck. He lowered himself into the water with a spear gun after realizing the danger not to hurt the shark, but to divert its attention. Keeping a safe distance, Marcel swam toward the shark and threw the spear into the water a few feet away. The predator was startled by the sound and briefly backed away. Marcel took advantage of the chance to get to the cage to assist Kate and Alex in climbing through the damaged area. The three came to the surface as the crew managed to reclaim the winch and lift the cage back onto the vessel. After getting on board, Kate passed out from exhaustion, her hands shaking from the experience. The two of them were so relieved that Alex, who was equally shaken, hugged her tightly. The rest of the passengers applauded Marcel, but tensions persisted as the crew evaluated the damage to the cages. Inquiries concerning Deep Abyss Expedition safety procedures surfaced in the following days. Investigations showed that the cage had not been adequately maintained, and the bar's structural integrity had been weakened by rust. Additionally, it was determined that the crew's baiting techniques were careless, purposefully agitating the sharks to provide tourists with dramatic encounters. Despite being physically unharmed, the experience left Kate and Alex with severe scars. They committed never to participate in such tours again when they got home. Their tale garnered media attention and sparked discussions about the morality of shark cage diving and the risks associated with using apex predators for amusement. The incident was used by Marcel, who was praised as a hero, to push for stronger laws governing commercial shark diving operations. He maintained that although sharks should be respected and protected, human carelessness frequently made these interactions into potential tragedies. The memory of their terrifying near-death experience in Mexico became a warning to Kate and Alex Turner, a reminder of the unpredictability of nature's power and the significance of putting safety before spectacle.